Coming up on Tech News Today, Facebook's big announcement, MySpace's big relaunch, and my big apology. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, January 15th, 2013. Tech News Today is brought to you by ShareFile. Enhance your workflow, send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile by Citrix. Try ShareFile today for a 30-day free trial. Go to sharefile.com, click the radio microphone, and enter TNT. And by Pond5, the world's stock media marketplace. If you're a media maker looking for video, photos, illustrations, music, sound effects, After Effects templates, or 3D models, check out Pond5. And for an exclusive 50 free stock media files, go to pond5.com/TNT. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your iPhone, iPad, MacBook, or Android smartphones. Find out what your gadget is worth and get cash to upgrade to the latest iPhone at Gazelle.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
It's good not to be alone. I'm glad you guys are feeling better. Really, seriously.
Thank you.
It was
it's nice to see you again.
It's a little weird doing the entire news fuse alone, which I won't have to do today.
I'm very confused.
Yeah, no, don't get used to it.
Is this a fever dream I'm having? Tom's back.
Let's kick off the top 10 stories of the day in the news fuse. The new MySpace has left invite-only status and opened up to the public. The launch seems to be timed with to coincide with the release of the MySpace backer Justin Timberlake's new music single, Suit and Tie. Users can sign in with Facebook, Twitter, or their previous MySpace account, and you can even switch back to the old MySpace layout if you want.
Yeah, because a lot of people are going to want to do that.
That's right.
Yesterday, a Wall Street Journal report about Apple reducing orders for screens had investors in a bit of a tizzy about declining iPhone and iPad sales. Well, today, Stern Agee analyst Sean Wu is calming your fears. He says those reduced orders are due to improved yields, not fewer devices being built. Wu wrote, as far as we can tell, the iPhone 5 demand remains robust. Several other analysts agreed. So turn that frown upside down, investors, and perhaps just stop listening to analysts altogether.
Yeah, it's just they don't ever agree.
Test Aankoop, a Belgian consumer protection organization, is suing Apple for its warranty practices. Under EU law, Apple is required to provide a 2-year warranty on its consumer electronics for free. Currently, Apple hardware comes with a 1-year limited warranty. Additional years of coverage are for pay.
Bloomberg reports Microsoft will have some bad news when they report Q2 earnings. Brent Thrill, analyst at UBS AG, says Microsoft earnings will be less than previously expected due to weak demand for PCs and Surface tablets. Thrill cut his estimates for Surface tablets by half, down to 1 million expected to be sold for the Q2 period.
Kabam is acquiring Exploding Barrel Games. A lot of explosions going on there. Exploding Barrel Games produced Margaritaville for THQ, but THQ is now in bankruptcy. Kabam was first known for its Facebook games, but has made the move to iOS and Android as well. With the acquisition, Kabam will have more than 600 employees.
Bloomberg reports that Dell is in talks to go private with TPG Capital and Silver Lake. According to Bloomberg's source, the deal could be announced as soon as this week. If Silver Lake sounds familiar, they were the private equity firm that bought Skype and then flipped it to Microsoft.
Also a neighborhood in Los Angeles. Jack Ma, the CEO of China's biggest internet company, Alibaba, told employees in an email that he will step down as CEO. Ma told the New York Times Dealbook he will remain chairman and plans to name the new CEO when he steps down on May 10th. Along with Ma, several other older executives will pass off leadership responsibilities to younger employees.
OkCupid wants to streamline the whole online dating scene with its new Crazy Blind Date app.
That's their name for it, right?
Yeah, that's actually what it's called. The app asks you where and when you're willing to meet up with someone, anyone. Then the app scans and finds you another available person. Crazy Blind Date is available for both Android and iOS devices and hopefully comes with quite a lot of insurance.
Crazy stalker app to follow. GigaOM reports that former Treasury Secretary and Harvard President Larry Summers wants to bring Harvard-quality education to students without the cost. The Minerva Project received $25 million in seed funding last April, and on Monday, the for-profit project announced it wants to create a top-tier non-profit research university called Minerva Institute for Research and Scholarship, with a planned opening in 2015.
Some more on online education. California State University System has partnered up with the online college class startup Udacity to introduce a pilot program at San Jose State University. The program will offer 3-credit remedial and introductory algebra courses to 300 students for the low cost of $150.
This episode of Tech News Today brought to you by brought to you by, I got to the wrong place in the lineup. Brought to you by ShareFile.com from Citrix. We love Citrix. We love the products. We work with them all the time. And ShareFile lets you share files, as the name implies, securely. So if you're in business and you've got a lot of legal documents, big documents, plans, things you need to keep confidential, things you need to make sure the right people got, you want to check out ShareFile. You can easily email files of almost any size and know that they will be delivered quickly and securely. Get notifications when those files were received and opened. Transfer files to others confidentially. You decide who has access, and password protection settings ensure the highest security. Plus, post project-related files to a shared collaboration space, and ShareFile allows you to access your files from anywhere. You got your laptop, your tablet, your smartphone, you got your files with you as long as you got an internet connection. Like I said, I've used ShareFile. In fact, I used it recently with my landlord. I wanted to send him pictures of the place we were renting to say, this is the condition it's in before I'm moving in. Put them up on ShareFile, made sure that I knew that he got them and he opened them. It's a great way to share big files and know who got them and that they got them securely. So try it today. Sign up with our special offer, a full 30-day free trial. Go to sharefile.com, click on the microphone, and enter TNT. Remember, visit sharefile.com and type in TNT. We thank Citrix and ShareFile for their support of Tech News Today. Joining us now to discuss the stories of the day, Rene Ritchie, editor-in-chief of iMore at imore.com. Welcome back to the show, Rene.
Thank you very much for having me again.
You've become a regular on MacBreak Weekly, too. It's good to see you there.
I have. They can't get rid of me. I just showed up and stayed.
you just keep popping up. They're like, oh, well, we'll let Rene on. He's got good things.
They didn't hang up yet. I'll just hang out.
That's good to hear. Well, we also have breaking news happening during the show today, so we're trying a little experiment. Instead of doing a separate Tech News Today and then covering the Facebook announcement that's happening right now, we're going to cover it as it happens. So Mark Zuckerberg's on stage right now.
Talking about the 3 pillars of Facebook.
3 pillars of the Facebook system. The news feed is one. The timeline is the second. He hasn't gotten to the third yet.
Graph search.
Graph search is the third. All right. So it'll be a little bit of our familiar, like, follow the live blog stuff. But in between, instead of just kind of waiting for the next thing to come, we're going to do our regular discussion stories. And then we'll check in and see what's been happening on stage down at Facebook. So, Sarah, let's start with Facebook's competitor, sort of, but not so much anymore.
Well,
new MySpace.
Yeah, I mean, this is MySpace has been the new MySpace, which is actually at new.myspace.com, although myspace.com will redirect to the new domain. It has been in beta for some time. In fact, we've talked about it on TNT. I had signed up. I had somehow gotten an invite. So I poked around a little bit, and then I kind of promptly forgot about MySpace. But yes, I mean, back in the day, this was the big network that Facebook took all the users from. The new MySpace is officially open to the public, and may have opened to the public yesterday, the day before. Somebody from The Verge said, hey, you know what? It's not actually in beta anymore. It's probably to be timed with the large investor, as in he has invested quite a bit of money. Justin Timberlake's new single, because he's got a new album. When you go to myspace.com, Jason, I think you could pull up my screen. I'm logged in here, and this is the first thing I see. This is Justin Timberlake. I can listen to his new single. It's some Jay-Z collaboration. I haven't actually listened to it yet. I can download it on iTunes. It takes up pretty much all of my screen real estate, which I think is a little bit weird, but okay, that's the big thing that they're promoting. But here's where MySpace really loses me, because I know that we sort of clicked around a little bit a couple months ago and said, I don't know, there's some nice design qualities to what's going on here. I've got a side-scrolling thing. that I don't like. It's weird. Because before you realize that you can scroll, it just looks like the words are running off the page over on the right hand side. Okay, well if I go to my profile here, well there's
It's taking a while to load. Oh no, it's just slid over.
See, it's sort of like here's my profile page.
Your profile page.
This is
very
my bio.
blank.
You like white space, don't you?
Yeah, and then like I wrote that this morning that I forgot about MySpace. It's the sort of thing where I'm kind of like, this just doesn't look done to me.
Yeah.
This looks unfinished to me. And if you go to this Discover area, okay, well, let's, find some other people. They are really heavy on, again, Justin Timberlake, which is, I don't know about you guys, but it seems a little weird to me that, the big MySpace investor just gets to kind of use it as like a springboard, to buy.
It's kind of a
stuff.
double-edged sword, right? Which is one thing, it'll get people to come try out the MySpace because they want the new single.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be a personal platform right now.
It just seems very music heavy. We got some Beyonce stuff. We've got something about the band One Direction. We have some people that I've never heard of, but maybe I'd be interested in. That's all fine and good. But MySpace, I feel like, okay, at one point, a lot of the users left MySpace, for greener pastures, for the Facebooks, the next best thing. But a lot of what MySpace still at least had was music. Oh, but the artists still have pretty healthy communities over there. And this seems like a much more beautiful version of that. But do Tom and Iyaz and Rene and me and Jason want to have a social network for us on MySpace if we don't have that music component between us as friends? I have that with some friends, but not everybody. And I feel like Facebook, at least, even though Facebook, you could argue, does a little bit too much, you can have whatever kind of connections you want. MySpace kind of seems like a music-y place. And do I want that to be my social network? Because we're not all going to be on all of these social networks that often. Am I the only one who thinks that this layout looks wonky?
I think the layout looks wonky for the traditional desktop space. If you're looking at a tablet, though, I think it seems a lot more intuitive because you'd be swiping left to right or however you'd want to do this. I mean, MySpace started off as a music destination when it was first started. And so looking at it now, it seems like if you're going to make connections with people that you don't know, Facebook's great at finding people you do know. But if you could connect with them via your musical tastes, maybe this is the kind of hook that MySpace could use to keep it different from Facebook, because like you said, Sarah, Facebook kind of does everything. And if you're going to be out there in that field, in the social networking space, you have to have some kind of hook. And I think that maybe this design is very clean. No one's going to confuse this with Google Plus or Facebook or any other social network. So it's a start, but it does definitely seem strange when you start it up.
One of the nice things I have to say, I mean, if we're just talking about the design, is if you're on any page and you're not actually, I don't know, you're not already adding text to a box. If I just start typing out of nowhere, if I'm just, I don't know, searching for myself, that's kind of neat. I mean, there's some cool things about the new MySpace design, but oh, hey, that's a cool way to search something is not a reason for me to come to a social network at least once a day and possibly many times a day and spend time and stay there.
It looks like it's good for music discovery. My question is, do we need a social network for music discovery, or do we want music discovery and social music discovery built into the things we already use, like a Spotify or an RDO or an iTunes? Rene, what do you think?
There was a ping joke in there that I'm not going to make. Yeah, I had the same reaction as Sarah. I looked at it before it went public, and it's pretty, but it's a horrible user experience. There's nothing that hooks you into it. There's no obvious things for you to do when you get there. The launch version is clearly Justin Timberlake's space and not MySpace at all, which I think is a huge problem. They lost their audience, and it's much easier to keep your audience than to try to get it back. And it doesn't look like they made any real attempts to bring significant amounts of people back, which means it becomes exactly what you said, yet another social network of which I have too many, and I'm trying to get rid of some already. So there's just nothing compelling for me there yet.
All right, let's check in a little bit more on what's happening on stage at Facebook. That third pillar, graph search, is what they're spending most of their time on. They keep emphasizing that it is not, in fact, a web search competitor. It's not a competitor for Bing or Google. It's meant to answer specific questions, things like, who are my friends in San Francisco? And then all your friends in San Francisco or whatever city you're asking about show up. They're also making a big deal about how the title of the page is the search query, and that if you're on a page, you can edit the title, and it will change the contents of that page to answer the query of whatever you edit the title for, which seems like a nifty trick.
Oh, so TV shows my friends like versus movies my friends like.
Yeah.
And it will repopulate with that information.
That's pretty nifty.
Yeah, that's cool. Obviously, it depends on how many of your friends have apps connected that give you that kind of information. So with some friends, you'll have a lot of information and others less so.
Sure. It's gonna depend on how you use Facebook, how useful this is going to be. All right, we'll let them continue on there. But Iyaz, let's talk a little bit about Google's Gigabit Kansas City starting to pay off, for the city anyway, by drawing in some entrepreneurs.
Yeah, the Associated Press had a report talking about Google Fiber bringing in tech startups to Kansas City. It's earned the nickname the Silicon Prairie. I know there's Silicon Valley, Silicon Alley, now there's Silicon Prairie. And the thing is, if you're wondering why does fast internet bring startups? Well, you know, it allows for network-intensive tasks and really good video conferencing. So when you want to talk to people, you can kind of see what's going on there. And obviously, Google's in Kansas City with gigabit speeds at $70 per month. And the piece spotlights a place called the Home for Hackers, which is a shared house. There are multiple startups there, and they live rent-free for 3 months while they develop their business plan. The startups are facing challenges right now, like raising funds, since they are outside the whole traditional Silicon Valley VC scene. Rene, do you think these kinds of stories are going to get faster broadband in the rest of the United States? Because it seems like that's been really slow for adoption. But to see that it's helping an economy, do you think that's going to mean more broadband in more locations?
Yeah, I'm sitting here paying $170 a month for 50 down and 3 up. So we're lagging even further behind you are in the US. And it's if Google can jumpstart that, that would be fantastic. But whenever you travel to Scandinavia or Asia and you can download the entire internet in a couple hours, and sure, the ending's not great, but at least you have the whole thing. It really shows how far behind. And Google plus entrepreneurs plus jealousy of other cities, I think, is a heck of a motivator.
I can't believe your picture quality looks as good as it does. 3 up?
I'm throwing everything I can behind this camera.
Wow. I'm impressed. Whatever you're doing, you've figured it out.
Yeah, you've cracked it.
Wow, that is expensive, though.
That's Alex Lindsay yelling at me about camera quality.
That helps. That's a good motivator. I think this is something that I wasn't necessarily sure was going to happen. A lot of people talked about like, oh, might as well move your business to Kansas City then. I'm like, well, there are other reasons to start a business in an area besides just fast internet. So it is good to see that some of those other reasons can be fulfilled. Now granted, that Home for Hackers certainly helps. I don't know, to answer your question, Iyaz, if this is the kind of thing that encourages other municipalities to put fiber in, or to encourage other companies to put fiber in. I think it might encourage municipalities a little more than other companies, but the problems with the rollout of fiber are cost and the battle over who gets to make money off of it. I mean, it is very costly to put in fiber, so companies like Verizon have stopped because they say their shareholders don't want them to do it anymore. At the same time, when municipalities start to decide, okay, well, we'll spend a little taxpayer money to do this, the big companies come out and try to get laws passed to stop them from being able to do it, even if they have the money.
Sarah, do you think that this Kansas City experiment, do you think this is going to get other cities to maybe pursue Google a little bit more seriously? Because perhaps when Google first announced they're going to bring fiber to Kansas City, people are like, that's interesting, but that whole fiberhood system and the way fiber would be brought to particular neighborhoods was pretty intensive. It required a lot of community effort. The fact is Kansas City did that. Do you think other cities are going to court Google a little bit more? I
think other cities will become a lot more interested in this type of experiment and want it for themselves. If maybe in the next 6 to 12 months, we start seeing something very interesting going on in Kansas City. And I'm not just talking about, oh, there's some people that are living rent-free in some suburbs. I mean, that's the whole thing about another Silicon Valley, for example. There were, for whatever reason, the timing was right. You got a lot of smart kids either coming right out of school or dropping out, and there's a lot of innovation happening at once. And then there's more industry, and there are more restaurants, and a lot of the general community ends up benefiting. I think that is probably will have to be proven a little bit more for other municipalities to say, we could be the next Kansas City. Look how Kansas City turned things around. And I'm not saying it's not a wonderful place to live already, but you know what I mean. Growth.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to see more evidence before it becomes compelling. But
yeah.
I do think that a lot of cities already want to do this, so it's certainly not going to detract them if they're already looking at it. All right. Shall we check in at Facebook one more time? They've gone into demo time, so there's not as much going on here. But since we checked the last time, they've showed a little bit more of how you can use that title page and refine the viewing. Now, Facebook has completely replaced its top blue bar with a search box and an F logo. It's the same F logo. They haven't changed the logo. Darn it. That prediction went wrong. But results are ranked by the people you care the most about. The rest are sorted by mutual friends and other signals in the Facebook system. And it's not a keyword search. When you type in my friends who work at, or my friends who, it says work at Facebook, live in San Francisco. It populates with the kinds of natural language things that would logically finish that sentence. And then you can, on the right side, you can refine things by, my friends who are in San Francisco and have visited Austin, Texas. You can check that box off. You can really refine the results. So it seems like the announcement from Facebook today is that they've really beefed up their search engine in a way to try to make it more useful for you and pervasive across the site.
Wouldn't it be great if we got Google Now and Siri access into that, so we could just press a button and say what's Sarah doing in San Francisco listening to right now, and it would just populate that for us? I would
think that would be fabulous. I could see them working with Apple on Siri integration. I don't know about Google. They don't seem to be good of friends, those two. All right, let's discuss a little bit about Thunderbolt. I was having a conversation yesterday with a few people here at the studio about Thunderbolt. And then Ars Technica put up a great article today. Chris Forsman at Ars, who's a great writer, kind of wrote up the state of Thunderbolt after a few CES announcements. Devices from Thunderbolt have been slow to come to market. It's been around since 2011 now, and people have been waiting for the device avalanche, which hasn't happened. In fact, he points out LaCie was the only company he knew of that announced new storage at CES. The Belkin's Thunderbolt Express dock also was shown off at CES, but they showed that off at CES last year, and it still hasn't shipped. Belkin says, we're definitely going to ship this in September of this year. That's still late. Towards the end of this year. Prices of the cords, the cables you need for Thunderbolt, have come down a little, but they're still high. They've gone from $50 to $40 at Apple, as an example. And optical cables, which were the initial promise of Thunderbolt, which was introduced by Intel as Lightpeak back in the day. Optical cables just announced by Corning at CES. Those cables can go up to 100 meters. They are very expensive. Intel had some samples. Corning had some. We still don't know price or ship dates on that. So all of Thunderbolt is still in promise rather than execution, or at least most of it. The reasons given in the Ars Technica article for why are the following. First-generation chips for Thunderbolt were too expensive. Intel's second generations have come down a little bit, and so more OEMs are starting to get interested because of the price. Buggy drivers for Windows and OS X have been an impedance as well. Those are getting developed and fixed as they go along. And Intel has had some really strict certification limits. They say we haven't been able to handle the requirements for certification as fast as maybe we'd like. We'd like to loosen that process up. A lot of manufacturers have complained, well, we can't even get it approved, so how are we going to put out any devices? The question we were debating yesterday here, is Thunderbolt the new FireWire? In other words, it's used, it's going to continue to be used, but it's just never going to catch on, and USB, in this case USB 3.0, would be the thing that ends up superseding it. Rene, what do you think?
I think that it's a problem with new style interconnects, and Lightning, Apple's Lightning connector for iOS has the same problems, that you have one person controlling it. The chips are initially very hard to get. The certification, because it's brand new, is limited to an incredibly few amount of people. Even Apple, who could get 50 billion phones into every country in the world in a month or so, couldn't get a simple adapter into a store in anywhere approaching a reasonable amount of time. And Intel, who makes the chips and everything, can't get Lightning Thunderbolt cables certified. So it seems like there's an incredible benefit to all these new, pure digital, really smart interconnects, but they can't get them into the market, and that means that older technologies, like the AK-47s of cables, will keep going.
Iyaz, what do you think? Is Thunderbolt the new FireWire?
I don't really know if it's FireWire, because the way FireWire turned out was because there was really high cost for licensing. And the thing about Intel right now is that they are so focused on driving the prices of Ultrabooks down. They want that form factor to succeed. They want to get in the mobile space. I think that, like, Intel's not really concerned about Thunderbolt right now, because as long as they're making processors, they can dictate to motherboard makers, hey, by the way, maybe you want to put a Thunderbolt port on there or not. But FireWire, I could see the parallels, though. It seems very similar. You know, this promise of a great bandwidth in a very small form factor. And I really want Thunderbolt to succeed because it would just remove the need for all these different ports. But if these costs stay this high, it's going to be pretty hard to adopt, especially with USB 3.0 right there. It's kind of like the MP3 style of music. USB 3 might be more ubiquitous, and it might not be as fast, but it's there. So that might get all of the peripheral makers behind it.
Sarah, what about this? Do you agree with these guys?
It seems to me like we heard about Thunderbolt just a little bit earlier than we should. Well, I mean, that's the one thing you can count on at CES, right? It's just, this is all just, it's happening slowly. Things are a little bit too expensive. There's some buggy drivers. There's just sort of issues in the early days. I don't think anybody's arguing that Thunderbolt isn't a great technology. It's just, it's early days.
All right, we're going to take a break and thank one of our sponsors. The Facebook announcement still going on. We're still covering that. Right now they're doing a demo showing how you can use Refine This Search to identify someone you met at a party and you don't remember their name, but you remember things about them. So you can use Refine This Search. Well, I know he was from San Francisco. I know he went to Stanford. I know he was Indian. And then suddenly you've narrowed it down because he's a friend of a friend and you found the people. So it's demo magic on stage at Facebook. But speaking of magic, I'm going to make your gadgets turn into cash, thanks to our sponsor, Gazelle. Gazelle.com, the fast and easy way to sell your gadgets online. In fact, I mentioned yesterday when we were doing the Gazelle advertisement that you can sometimes sell broken iPhones and they'll give you cash. Mike Anuta wrote in to TNT at twit.tv, said, I work for a company that uses iPhones, which I have sold back through Gazelle, which were broken and no longer usable. They always take them, and they give us the best value they can. It has been great for our company to reclaim some of the cost that was literally sitting on the shelf losing value. So don't wait. Go check out Gazelle and find out what they'll give you for your old iPhone, your old Android phone, your MacBook. Gazelle locks in the quote for 30 days. So once you get a quote, you can decide whether you really want to do it or maybe go get a new phone to make the transition a little simpler. And you get paid in cash. You get paid fast within a few days of the items being received. They'll even take a look at the condition and make sure you got it right. Not only does, like, hey, this isn't as good as you said, they'll look at it and say, you know what, it's a little better than you said. We're going to give you a little more money. Offers are good for 30 days. Gives you time to get your new iPhone before you need to send in your current iPhone. Paid almost $50 million to customer, over 300,000 customers. So it's easy. Free shipping. Most items qualify for a free box. Fast processing. No listing hassles. What's your iPhone worth? Take a minute. Go to Gazelle.com to find out. Sell your used iPhone today at Gazelle.com. And we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. All right, California has lots of problems. Lots of problems with money, lots of problems with funding education. Looks like San Jose State University has got an idea for giving web courses a trial.
Right, like I mentioned in the news fuse, San Jose University and Udacity are launching a pilot program for remedial and college-level algebra. For college credit, you get 3 credits. The first round, very limited, 300 students. You pay $150, you get 3 credits for your trouble. Udacity is an online course startup founded by Sebastian Thurn. Now, he's a former Stanford professor. And in previous tests, comparing online versus traditional colleges, an MIT and Harvard similar edX project, 40% in traditional classes, 40% got a C or lower. Only 9% using the blended online course picked up the same grades. The online dropout rate, however, is 90%. Apparently, a lot of people like to just join online classes and then just fall off by the middle of the semester. Rene, I'm just kind of curious. Do you think our current technology makes an online educational experience the equivalent to a traditional one?
No, but I think this is one of those things where we're trying to treat the most superficial.
Rene, I think your mic is down. Not sure.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, better.
Yeah, it seems like one of those things where we're trying to treat the most superficial symptom of a problem, and because whether people are in online or whether they're in classrooms, it's not addressing the fact that in North America we don't respect learning the way that we used to. And if you don't have an engaged student, someone who's eager to learn, and you give them the tools to learn it, it doesn't matter if those are in a classroom that is overstuffed with students and low on money, or in a computer program that has where they have no skin in the game and no actual incentive to follow through on signing up for it. It's not going to make a big difference at this point.
Tom, we've got the Minerva Project out there trying to be like an elite Harvard-like style when it comes to how few people it lets in. Then there's California trying to get more people in with remedial courses. Do you think there's a right approach? Does the online universe need these standards?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, I think both are good things. You need high-end courses that are affordable for people with high academic achievement, but you also need accessible education for folks who haven't had high academic achievement. That's why community colleges were started back in the day. So I think this is actually the right thing to do, and we probably need more of it.
It's kind of interesting how the online dropout rate, you look at something, you see like 90%. What? Why? Is it because, the whole idea of being able to allow for education online is not only it can bring costs down, but it can be a lot more convenient. And if you've got a busy life and you're trying to work it in, but there is probably some sort of an accountability that there's less of as well, because you sign up online, you never actually see anybody, you never meet your professor, you maybe don't have your buddy that you kind of, share notes with, and there is that classroom experience that it's probably easy to just be like, I just won't log in, and I've disappeared, and now I've dropped out. So
I don't know. The online experience sounds a lot like my big lecture courses at Boston University. You have a big class. You don't know the professor because you're way in the back or in the front. Doesn't matter because they're not teaching to you because there's like 300 of you in there. At some point, the larger the class, the more it starts resembling an online world where you can't really see your professor. For those discussion elements, though, I definitely think that requires the smaller classes, just like they have in traditional universities. So maybe like a group chat or those kinds of things. I'm pretty sure that there'd be the ability to connect to other students. This is really for the motivated. If you want to get this education, I just love the fact that it's becoming lower cost and you're going to earn the same amount of credits, or you're going to earn credits like you would at a traditional school.
It seems like they would do well, though, if they're going to transplant it to an online world to learn the lessons of the online world. And they have opportunities for massive social integration here and almost Zynga-style gamification where they can give you the online equivalent of the rewards for your learning, where it becomes a much more enjoyable and a much more interesting thing for you to do. And I think until they get the whole online experience in there, just putting the courses on the web isn't enough.
Yeah, gamifying education. So like get a badge. Yeah. What if it was like a rectangular badge that you get after 4 years?
Absolutely, it works.
You seem to have some of those on your wall. Do you?
Yeah, there's something back over there.
I think, honestly, none of these can be shown to be the right or wrong way until we've tried them. Things like Khan Academy are great because they're paving the way. So I'm glad to see that other institutions are also trying things out and experimenting and seeing what works. That's how we'll come up with the thing that does work. We've been continually checking in on the Facebook announcement as it happens at Facebook headquarters. They've been demoing the graph search tool. They've been demoing photos. On graph search, you can say, find me the best photos of my friends. And they'll based on the number of likes, they'll surface the best photos. You can say, find photos of people I was friends with before 1990. It'll look at your timeline. You had an example actually show up of Sheryl Sandberg that was of her as a very young child. They mentioned on graph search, you can only search for content that's been shared with you or that's public. So this is a more personalized image search, unlike a Google image search that's the whole web. And they've moved on to talking about interests and being able to search for movies my friends like or TV shows my friends have liked, things like that. So again, just continuing the demonstration of graph search and what that's going to bring to Facebook. And the big deal, again, seems to be that you can do this with any page where you're looking at TV shows my friends like, you can change it to movies, and it immediately repopulates the page. Let's before we finish up on the discussions, let's talk about Square, PayPal, and NCR. Mobile payments hot right now.
Yeah, so Square is disrupting the marketplace, as a lot of people like to say. But PayPal and a company called NCR, which has been around a very long time, have just announced something that's pretty interesting. So NCR is a point-of-sale company. PayPal and NCR are now teaming up with NCR's mobile pay app. So that's an app that already exists. At least right now, it will let you, if you're at a restaurant and it's a restaurant that's participating that has NCR technology, you could place orders, you could call your waiter over, you could check out from your phones. Now, this is PayPal, at least at the beginning, is only going to be a checkout option within NCR's mobile pay app. And you might say, well, I don't use even NCR's mobile pay app. I mean, how much is this really going to apply to me? NCR has been in business for 128 years. It powers payments for 50% of major retail chains and 38% of the top 100 restaurants in the U.S., so a lot of adoption, a lot of potential customers there. NCR also has a deal in place with Google Wallet, so this is something that NCR is saying, listen, we've got a business that needs to keep up with the times. We've got all of these point-of-sale devices, but point of sale can mean a lot of things now when you've got an app. NCR processes 275,000 transactions per minute, more than 300 million per day. So eventually, the deal will be that PayPal will offer the same mobile dining experience that NCR does within its own mobile apps if you check into a participating NCR consumer restaurant. So I don't have a list of them right in front of me, but odds are there's one nearby you because NCR is all over the place. What's cool is that if you think about it, PayPal's payments in restaurants or gas stations or convenience stores, those are all areas where it's a little bit cumbersome sometimes at a gas station, for example. I do a lot of commuting. I'm constantly at the gas pump, and it'd be really nice to do something on my phone from the comfort of, I still got to get out and get the gas going, but just that much less of the swiping the card and putting in a zip code and, all that nonsense.
Especially when it's cold.
Especially when it's cold
right?
or hot.
Yeah.
If it's not 70 degrees, I don't want to get out of my car. But I like PayPal. Anytime I'm ready to check out of any sort of a service, and I see sort of like, here's how you have all of your options, debit or Visa or PayPal. I'm always like, PayPal, because then all my information's already in there, and it makes the transaction that much easier. What do you all think? Are you using the PayPal app regularly? Because this isn't coming to the PayPal app immediately, but it is eventually.
I don't use the PayPal app for this kind of stuff at all. I kind of don't trust it. So maybe this would be the kinds of thing, because the way you win this mobile payments game is to get your particular payment type available in as many places as possible to be used as easily as possible.
Right.
So what's Square doing here?
Square has nothing to do with this.
Why does it say watch out? Oh, it says watch out Square.
That was just
PayPal.
the headline.
I see. So Square needs something like this, because this is going to get PayPal in a lot more places.
If you kind of look at these, if you compare these two. This is PayPal saying, let's team up with an old, established company that's already in a lot of places that is interested in using our technology to stay, in the 21st century.
And Google Wallet is in a lot of places I wouldn't expect, probably because of the deal with NCR.
Taking a look at all these mobile payments, like Tom was saying, they have to be kind of everywhere so that you realize that you can use them in these locations. But I've seen enough of these point-of-sale devices that have like the 15 different badges of all the different things they take. At a certain point, I just go blind. I don't see the Google Wallet logo, and I don't see PayPal, and I just see this big blob of color. Kind of like I become like blind to advertising on the web. So I don't know if these things have to be more prominent or there needs to be more advertising or what, but I don't even realize when PayPal is an option just because I don't want to look at this giant list of, look at all the things it accepts. I don't want to like research and go, wait, where's mine? There it is.
Rene, do you use any of these kind of payment apps?
I do. I think Iyaz is absolutely right. From a consumer standpoint, you already have your credit card that can be swiped. If it has a chip in it, you can enter a PIN. If it has NFC in it, you can just tap it. And there's a dizzying array of options. But if you're not a mega retailer, I remember how difficult it used to be to get merchant numbers to run Visa cards if you ran a small business or a small studio of any kind. And now you could get Square or you could get PayPal, and it at least lets you compete in an increasingly cashless society. So I think as much as it creates user confusion, the ubiquity will increase, the simplicity will increase, major players will emerge, the smaller players will fall by the wayside, and we'll just be able to run our businesses better no matter where we are.
All right, let's finish up. The Facebook announcement still going on, and they've gone on from talking about music and languages, other interest searches, to what they say is the last part of the graph search they want to talk about, which is places. This seems to be very useful. The idea that you could say, well, what dentists do my friends check into, and which ones are the best, which ones get the most likes, what restaurants do they like? I'm looking for an Indian restaurant that's liked by my friends. This all seems to be a variation on a theme, which is I'm going to have an easy way to query the things that my friends have been interested in and liked and find out information. What do you think of this so far, Sarah?
I think that this is assuming that a lot of people are using Facebook in ways that they don't use Facebook. I don't check in ever on Facebook. Once in a blue moon, a friend of mine will check me in somewhere, and it's fine. I have no problem with it. I allow that on my timeline, but I don't do that, and I wonder if... because I just don't bother. The location check-in is not so interesting to me, and I don't go through the hassle of filling out what all my favorite movies are. It's just not something I've ever done. So nobody's really going to get a lot of information about that from me. But maybe I'll be more encouraged to do so in the future. When you say something like, so you were always talking about your favorite Indian restaurant, and I couldn't get any of that information from Facebook. What's up, Sarah? And maybe I go, I'd like to help Tom out next time he's in my hood and he wants to get some pop bombs.
Yeah,
get his Indian on.
Yeah. Curry in a hurry. I thought the same thing when I was first exposed to this announcement today. And also they use an example here: restaurants in San Francisco liked by Culinary Institute of America graduates. Now, if you're friends with a lot of graduates, then I guess that makes sense. Or if those graduates are publicly checking in or publicly liking things, then you'll get access to that. And so there's another wrinkle on it, is the people using Facebook have to do things publicly more often for it to be useful to the wider audience of Facebook. Rene, what do you make of this so far?
I'm very similar to Sarah in that absolutely none of my close friends or family members are on Facebook. Facebook is far more intermediated for me, and I don't share very much on Facebook. And when they make these kinds of announcements, I always try to flip it around and see, why is Facebook doing this? And the obvious answer here is their business is our data, and the more ways they can get us to give them our data, the better it is for Facebook. That's similar to Google Plus. Suddenly, if you were a blogger and you didn't add Google Plus, your picture wouldn't show up on the Google search results. And there was all these you had to have Google Plus for this. And there's all these ways that they kind of half incentivize, half force you to give them more and more data. And to me, this looks like a very compelling way to get data for that reason. Like, what restaurants do you like? Why didn't you tell me your movies? I'm trying to find out what to get you. And it's quasi-interesting, quasi-insidious to me.
Now, Matthew Panzarino over at The Next Web just tweeted, Facebook's graph search is not available on mobile. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Is that true? This would only be for the web version, at least at launch? That's stupid.
Web first.
That's just dumb.
Well, yeah, that is the old way of doing things at Facebook.
But I thought
still
Facebook was really interested in not having the mobile version of everything it does.
Apparently, this project didn't make it into that requirement. Iyaz, are you like us? Do your friends not check in a lot? Is this not going to be as useful out of the gate?
I guess. I mean, the circles I run in, they don't usually use Facebook for these things, but I could see the usage for this in general, just because if you're on Facebook and you just want to find out this information, I know I wind up I use up a lot of apps like Yelp or OpenTable or these other applications just to find recommendations and to find new locations. But this kind of search will just keep me on Facebook much longer, because maybe some of my friends are sharing a lot of this. Maybe I just have either they've fallen out of my news feed because I haven't read their posts in a long time. So, I think this isn't for maybe us. This is definitely for the general Facebook user, just to keep them on that site as long as possible. Because the other thing is, like Rene was mentioning, there is that potential social pressure where I'm like, hey, Sarah, why don't you just tell me which restaurants are in there? If you just put it on Facebook, I wouldn't have to bug you so much. So it could increase the amount of data they get, and it might just make Facebook even stickier. You just keep staying on that site.
Yeah, Mime Artist points out the mobile app still doesn't work, in Mime Artist's opinion. And maybe that's why this isn't on mobile yet, is that they're working on a big update to the mobile app. Maybe that'll be their one more thing at the end of this. Who knows?
There are a lot of people who buy mobile devices and basically just use them as phones and Facebook machines, so it's going to be a huge audience for them.
Yeah, and I think with everybody expecting a Facebook phone announcement, the idea that this new function wouldn't be on mobile is almost like heresy. Let's move on to the rant. Ladies and gentlemen who lose your phones, please don't blame Wayne Dobson of the Las Vegas area. Las Vegas Review-Journal has a story about poor Wayne Dobson, who's suffering at the hands of Sprint's GPS glitch. Apparently, in many cases, when a phone is lost and Sprint users go online to do the GPS tracking, find out where the phone is, it inaccurately directs them to poor Wayne Dobson's house. He's a 59-year-old man who says he doesn't. What does he say? These are not my people. I don't play with these pets. He calls phones pets. I can't find the exact quote here, but I don't know these people. I don't go where they go. I'm 59 years old. I don't care about these technology pets they have. He's taken to having to sleep on the couch by the door because he gets woken up in the middle of the night so often by people who've lost their phone, and it tells them, oh, it's at this house.
Can you imagine? Yeah, and you think you're gonna catch the thief red-handed, and to there, give me back my phone. I know it's in there because that's how this stuff works. And poor Wayne Dobson is waiting for you. Basically, he can't get any sleep. Sprint, maybe you can help him.
The police, the 911 system, has apparently inaccurately identified his house as the source of calls from mobile phones, from Sprint mobile phones on 911. For domestic abuse. So twice the police have showed up to raid his house. He's like, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
This is not funny anymore.
He's even got a placard by his front door that says no lost cell phones. This location gives a false phone location position due to a cell tower.
Yeah. And
so,
no one's going to read that, or they're going to say,
be like,
that's what a thief would say.
Exactly. Maybe he's a master thief. Maybe Dobson
No wonder that house was so cheap.
You're right.
And this is, with the 911 system relying on this is a serious area. Dobson says he just wants the problem fixed. He's worried about potentially dangerous future encounters with angry owners.
I don't blame him.
So, hopefully they can figure out this glitch soon.
Oh, he should become a phone retailer. Maybe he can, like I don't have your phone, but I can sell you one.
But let me switch you to Verizon so you don't have this problem.
He could really make a killing there.
Yeah. All right, let's thank our last sponsor for today's show, Pond 5, the world's stock media marketplace. I know lots of folks in our audience are media makers. Make websites, they make blogs, videos, films, apps, other types of media. That's why I want to tell you about stock media and Pond 5. You can get professional, quality stock media from Pond 5, not just searching around the internet, and who knows if you have the rights to use it. You can extend your creativity, streamline your workflow, not pay through the nose, and have a legal building block and creative resource for your projects. They have more than 10 million professional quality photos, vector illustrations, music tracks, sound effects, customizable motion graphics, templates, 3D models, and more. Collections growing all the time because they allow you to upload your own work and sell it. If you're an artist, you'll love Pond 5. They're shaking up the stock agency business with an open, artist-friendly marketplace for professional content. You get to set the price. Pond 5 will pay out 50% royalties for each and every sale. And as a result, the prices are unbeatable. So is the range of quality, the range of content. You can find pretty much anything you can imagine in video and sound effects, in all kinds of vector illustrations, 3D graphics. Go find out what Pond 5 is all about. If you're a media maker or artist, take your creativity to the next level. Upload your own content and put it to work. This month, you can get 50 free stock media files at pond5.com/TNT. That's POND, the number 5.com/TNT. And we thank Pond 5 for their support of Tech News Today. Hey, Sarah.
Yes, Tom?
What's on the calendar?
Oh, Tom, I'm glad you asked. We got a big Facebook event going on still as we do our little show. But tomorrow, eBay's going to announce earnings, and no one's going to talk about Facebook anymore after that. And then on Friday, Apple has announced Wi-Fi and cellular models of both the iPad mini and the 4th-gen iPad will be available in China.
Facebook says tomorrow, mobile, all languages, posts, and Open Graph. Mobile guys have been busy revamping apps. I'm not sure exactly what this means. Today, the graph search has people, photos, places, and interests. I guess tomorrow doesn't mean like the 16th of January. It means that soon they'll be adding all languages. They'll be adding mobile and other things. They want to index all the posts and content on Facebook and eventually want to get the Open Graph, which is a massive challenge. But they're launching, because this is such a big product, with just people, photos, places, and interests on the website. So it looks like they're wrapping up their limited beta of Graph Search, rolling out today at facebook.com/Graph Search, GRAPHSEARCH, if you want to try it out. You trying it out?
I'm trying it out.
See if it works.
Introducing Graph Search. Yeah, I'm up.
There's also a Bing-powered web search within Facebook. So if you start looking for things outside, you can get it within Facebook.
Any last thoughts on this before we go to incoming? All right, let's go to incoming.
Sure.
Incoming message.
We've got an email from Jeff. He says, hey, Tom and crew, couldn't pass up an opportunity to provide a quick, actually, what we called it, Bexar County is pronounced Bear. Here's a little tidbit of history. When Texas won its independence from Mexico, it divided the area into 4 administrative divisions, Bear County being one of them. The area was quite large, and when Texas was admitted into the United States, it partitioned Bear County into 128 separate counties. Thanks for the show.
I would like to apologize to the people of Texas, anyone who's been to Texas, and the people of Bear County specifically for my egregious error yesterday. I know how to pronounce Guadalupe. I know how to pronounce Manchac. I failed.
Wouldn't it be Bear?
Well, that would be the Spanish pronunciation.
I mean, how do you get Bear?
Well, the same way you get Guadalupe and Manchac and San Jacinto and all those others. So
those feelers.
I hope you can find it in your hearts to forgive me, Bear County.
Nope.
They'll probably forgive, but they'll never forget.
They will.
Big Texas hearts.
Damien from Milwaukee wrote in, hey, TNT crew, after listening to the bashing of 3D and the talk of how old game consoles are in the last few episodes, I keep thinking there's a major thing missing from that picture. He says, I get it. I think 3D is a gimmick too when it comes to film. But why isn't anybody considering how useful or immersive 3D would be when the gaming consoles are revised? With the advent of 4K and the promise of full support from Sony and the PS4, I think 3D and 4K start to make a lot of sense. I, for one, can't wait to see it. 3D will make sense soon.
Really?
Just doesn't yet. I don't feel like it doesn't make sense.
No, we just don't like it.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't make enough sense for me to want to pay extra.
There's already 3D gaming on PCs. So, I mean, I don't know if it's so big that people want to do it, but I get the immersion concept, because the whole thing about putting a giant VR helmet over your head, that's one way to do it. But if you could get it to work on a game console, why not?
I think CES was showing off a bunch more of that stuff again this year, and it's still, I mean, they had the 3D TVs without the glasses, and they look more lumpy than three-dimensional, and they had the different kinds of games and the 4K televisions that there's no physical media to show it, and you need a server in your house, and I think we're still a long ways off from that being really consumer-friendly and productized.
All right, well, that is it for the Facebook announcement. We've told you everything. They're playing a video now and thanking everybody for coming. And that's it for this show as well. Rene, Ritchie, thank you for coming. Always good to have you on the show, man. Tell folks about iMore.
iMore is your place to go for everything you need to know about iPhones, iPads, Apple TVs, Macs, anything in general.
All right, check it out, imore.com. Of course, you can submit stories to our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. If you want to make some suggestions about what we should cover on the show, or even vote on the stories that we should cover on the show, go there. It's technewstoday.reddit.com. You can find all of our shows all the time on the web at twit.tv/TNT. There's links to other resources there like calendars and show notes and that sort of thing. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call, leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. We'll be back tomorrow with Scott Budman joining us. See you then.